Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I do. I challenged them when we came back in. We know it wasn't good enough tonight. They know. We've got the right team in that locker room, the right group of guys. We've got great leadership. They know. They know we didn't play better. We didn't play well enough. We didn't coach well enough. Nothing across the board was good enough tonight. And like I said, the best thing is we get 4 days from now an opportunity to come out and try to get back on track. And I believe we'll do the things we need to do, control what we can control, and ultimately band together close as ever to come out here and try to get a win on Thursday.
There he is, KOC, picking up the pieces after a near historic home loss. And when I say that, I mean the only other time the Vikings at home in their history have been blown out to that extent. This was a 37-point loss. They lost by 42 points to the St. Louis Cardinals at the time. 1963, October 6th, 1963. Judd, you saw history inside U.S. Bank Stadium. Nearly history.
Yes, because contrary to popular belief, I did not see that 1963 game. Now, there was a 1980 blowout by the Eagles at Met Stadium.
35, yeah.
That was bad and that I was alive for, but yes, Cardinals I did not see.
Yeah. Well, we do statements every Monday here on Mackey and Judd, and so let's just get right into them. I'll give you guys the first one.
Okay.
People think the Vikings are frauds now. That's the statement. People kind of thought the Vikings were frauds all year just because, the way they're winning, no blowouts, a lot of just down to the wire, maybe some luck involved and things like that. But now it's official. Most people who talk about the NFL around the country, the national perspective, until they change the narrative, people are going to think the Vikings are frauds. So they came into the game yesterday before they got their asses kicked with the second worst point differential of any 8-1 team in NFL history. Only the 1976 Raiders, and the Vikings were a 35 point differential. The Raiders in 1976 were 8-1, and they were like a plus 11, I want to say. And so now the Vikings are 8-2, and they are a minus point differential this morning. I haven't seen the research on that. I don't know how many 8-2 teams or better have been a minus point differential this far into the season. So Vegas was right about the Cowboys being favorites. And to this point, the people who think that they're frauds in terms of like Super Bowl contender frauds, I should say. And now it's up to the Vikings to bounce back and prove those people wrong.
I believe Kevin Seifert had it as they are the only team to be 8-2 with a negative point differential per ESPN Stats and Info. So, yes, they are the first and only one to be that team. Yeah. Fun times.
It happens. Yeah, I mean, here's my statement. I'm going to bring some happiness to the show.
I'm happy. I mean, it didn't ruin my life or anything. I'm going to bring some.
I'm going to bring some encouragement. How does that sound?
Okay.
With my statement. Very un-Judd-like. Thank God for the NFC. Yes, Dallas played great, but let's take a step back because you gave up 40 points. Let's take a step back at home and look at this. All right, Dallas played great, but Dallas isn't great. Like they're not trucking teams on a weekly basis. Philadelphia almost lost to the Indianapolis Colts and Jeff Saturday on Sunday.
That's a feisty football team now.
It is. But the fact is, Philly improved to 9-1, but it's not like they blew the Colts out, the drawers off the Colts. And then furthermore, the other surprise team, I guess if you want to call it that, in the NFC, the Giants, got beat by the Lions.
Another surprise team.
Yeah.
The Lions are 4-6. The Lions are knocking on the door of a playoff spot. Our
guy Dan Campbell. But anyway, the reality is this. As bad as that game was, if the Vikings make the proper corrections, and I do believe that O'Connell is from just what we saw post game there too. Like, it doesn't surprise me that O'Connell mentally will bring this team back. I really think he's not gonna like go crazy now, and the team's gonna tighten up. hopefully. But that being said, if you look at the conference, it's not as if you looked at Dallas and thought, oh boy, that is the juggernaut team like they were in the 90s and everybody's screwed. That's not the case. Thank God for the NFC.
Yeah, okay. That's a silver lining. You could have given that silver lining on.
No, I want to tear up my stat sheet. I want to tear up my stat sheet.
All right, Declan.
All right, my first statement is Kirk Cousins deserves zero blame for that loss yesterday. I know Mackey handed out a tiny little 5% piece of pie.
I gave him 5.
Gave him a little 5% piece of pie. Man, when you're pressured 65% of the time and you're trying to stop Micah Parsons, your star tackle goes out with another concussion. I don't look at this loss as Kirk. This is classic Kirk Cousins shipwrecking and him playing in prime time, and this is an absolute all Kirk Cousins' fault. I don't think Kirk Cousins deserves next to any fault for this loss. Yeah. From the points I made on Purple Daily, I believe Tony Pollard and Micah Parsons, the Vikings couldn't stop those two players, and they were all over on both sides of the ball. They were all over the Vikings. Kirk couldn't overcome that. Every time he was dropping back, it just seemed like Kirk was being pressured, right? You got sacked like 3 or 4 times just on the first few drives of the second half. They abandoned the run game. TJ Hockenson, who I have a statement on later, dropped a would-be touchdown. Like, when I look at this loss, nothing of it for me falls on the quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he was. So the official number from PFF is 60% of dropbacks. He was under pressure. I think ESPN had it like 63. So whatever. Maybe they're debating one of the plays being a pressure versus another one. But yeah, that's. I will continue to hammer him as a 34-year-old, 10+ year NFL veteran. He is worse under pressure than the average quarterback is, statistically. He has not made the adjustment late in his career. I can see like young quarterbacks not being good under pressure, but when you've seen that, when you played 130 NFL games, he should be better against pressure. But I do not carry that criticism over into yesterday's game. That was an extraordinarily ridiculous amount of pressure that pretty much no quarterback in the league would have been able to overcome. He was 4 for 11. So he was pressured on 18 dropbacks. 7 were sacks. Of the 11 that weren't, he was 4 of 11 for an average yards per attempt of 3.5. So 18 dropbacks under pressure, 4 completions in that game. In part because he's not good under pressure, but also because the type of pressure was impossible to overcome. Just boom, guy in your face right when you drop back. It was bad. Okay. My next statement. I feel bad for Tony Romo and Jim Nantz.
Don't.
Those guys traveled all the way to... Where does Tony Romo live? Still in Dallas somewhere?
Dallas, yeah. Dallas.
Jim Nantz probably has 6 homes, 3 in Hawaii, a couple in Florida somewhere.
Houston probably, right? Because he's from Houston.
Okay. So those guys traveled all the way to the great north to Minneapolis, and they basically did a regional broadcast for half of the game.
Chris Myers?
Yes. This was a nationally televised game for the first half, and then a few minutes into the second half, and I am in this national audience because I am not in the Minneapolis market. CBS jumps on, James Brown jumps on from the studio and basically apologized for the Vikings' performance and said, we're going to find you guys a more competitive game to watch. And they flipped over to Bengals Steelers in the third quarter. I can't ever remember a nationally televised game in that afternoon window flipping to a different game that early. You might see it with like 5 minutes to go or 2 minutes to go. Oh, okay, we got something's happening at the end of this Ravens game. You got to go see it. They bailed with like an hour of televised time left. And Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were doing a regional broadcast for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Dallas, which is still a huge market. But those poor guys.
Oh yeah,
I believe
bleeding for them.
The last time they were here was in 2018 when a rookie Josh Allen, second year Josh Allen, I believe, absolutely kicked the Vikings' ass early at US Bank Stadium. It was like one of the first really big Kirk meltdown, horrible games. So the last 2 times they've come here, I think the Vikings have been outscored, like no exaggeration, like 60-9. Like it's just been terrible.
So bad.
I believe the Bills were 16.5-point underdogs in that tilt.
They were. Yeah,
because they weren't good, and in that game, if you guys recall, Jerry Hughes destroyed them. He got to Kirk. It was Micah Parsons, the exact same thing. Jerry Hughes spent the entire game in the backfield.
Yeah. It was kind of the game where everyone looked at Josh Allen a little bit differently and said, "Oh, okay, this guy there was a little something there."
Do you remember when he leapt over Anthony Barr, and that was the play that they replayed and replayed? They're like, "Oh my God, the athletic nature!" And how fitting was it that Anthony Barr, now with the Cowboys, had to sit out injured yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
he didn't get his revenge, unfortunately.
Here's my next statement. It's very, very simple. The Vikings were soft.
You just want us to say it, don't you?
The Vikings were soft.
SAWFT, soft.
Soft.
Give it meaning. Try it again.
Okay.
SAWFT.
Soft.
Thank you. To the tune of this, the Dallas Cowboys, 151 yards rushing, but you talk about setting a tempo and a tone, 108 of those in the first half, okay?
You know what they call that in the National Football League? Football. Establishing the run.
Exactly. And you know what can't happen to you in a playoff game? Where, by the way, you'll see this. It can't happen to you in a playoff game or else you're dead.
You know what the Cowboys' run was yesterday, Judd?
What's that?
Established.
Oh,
it was established.
It was, as Mike McCarthy said, it was tough. We're tough. Pittsburgh tough. And on the other side of the ball, did you guys realize 6 of the Cowboys' 7 sacks of Cousins came with a 4-man rush? They didn't even have to blitz.
Nope.
This is the definition of soft, okay? And soft and football do not mix. You don't mix your drinks, and you don't mix soft and football. Well, Dex does. I don't, because I just stick to my surly beers. But anyway, that is soft, and that is a problem. And that, I will say this, that can't happen again. That can't happen. If that happens again, you got big problems. Both sides of the football. You have to be. I understand Micah Parsons is great, and I understand that Pollard was great yesterday, and I get that Dallas was committed to the run. But guess what? Everyone now is going to be committed to the run until you prove that you can stop it. Find a way to stop it.
Yeah, I think yesterday was sort of like, okay, have they just been playing teams that are a little soft in the trenches all year, and now they're running into some of the best trench teams in the league? Washington, Buffalo.
Bills don't have a run game though. Bills don't care about running. So
the Bills on the defensive side and in pass protection are great in the trenches, but they aren't like punch you in the mouth, run it down your throat like the Cowboys are sometimes. So, but you're gonna find out more, because if the same thing happens, I'm talking like your own offensive line versus their defense trenches, which New England has done that to a lot of teams, you're just going to have to figure this out. You don't just like get to play these games, then, now things get easier if you get to January, February.
Right.
These are the types of games you're going to be playing, and you can't be SAWFT. So, okay, Declan?
My next statement, I teased it, and it is TJ Hockenson was terrible in his Minnesota debut yesterday. Terrible.
That was his Minnesota debut.
Yeah, because he was in Washington, and then was obviously in Buffalo. So that was the first home game, and had a very stellar first 2 games, and kind of established himself, I believe, as the second biggest weapon in this offense for Kirk Cousins after Justin Jefferson. But yesterday drops a would-be easy gimme touchdown in the corner of the end zone. You just have to have it. I'll give him a little bit of pass for the next play where he targeted. I think Kirk just threw a bad ball. I don't blame Hockenson for. I think Romo kind of hinted that, well, he's got to make that cut a little faster. Yeah, maybe, but in general, I thought it was a bad throw from Kirk. He was targeted officially in this game, I believe, 9 times. They went to him all the time. He had a penalty that negated a positive play for them. The state of Hawk was a little bit rough here in Minneapolis, and I expect better things from him. This doesn't shipwreck him, doesn't skew my perception of him. But I thought, just eye test-wise, he was one of the worst players on the football field for the Vikings yesterday.
How much different is that game if he catches the touchdown pass that went right through his arms?
Completely different.
I think that it changes the game flow. Don't you guys?
Because they would have taken a 7-3 lead, right? Is that what they tied the game at 3 instead of taking a 7-3 lead?
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, I think it had the potential to alter the game flow. There's a few plays that if you guys go back and watch this in the first half, there's a few plays that if you make them, have the potential to change that game. That's one of them. the Zadarius Smith certain sack on Prescott, which Prescott escaped from and got a first down and kept a drive going, was one. Now, that would have come on a first down sack, but it would have made it like 1st and 16 or something like that. So there were definitely plays that changed the game flow and changed Dallas' ability to basically continue to take it to the Vikings physically that the Vikings failed at.
The other big, I was just looking through the game log again here to jog my memory. So they settle for a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. Okay, that changes the game flow. Then Dallas comes down, scores a touchdown. Now it's 10-3. But at this point, you feel like, okay, already marched down one time. Maybe this will just be kind of a shootout, whatever.
Yep.
And then the Vikings start marching again. And so first down, Dalvin Cook runs for 5 yards, and then they ran no huddle on the second down play. And Adam Thielen caught a 15-yard pass to get toward midfield. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it looks like they're marching. And then the first quarter ends. Another 5-yard gash from Dalvin Cook. There's a 2-yard gain. So now it's 3rd and 3. You are at midfield, and you're looking to drive down and tie the game. And Kirk gets sacked on 3rd down and 3 from like the 50-yard line, and they're forced to punt.
Yep.
And that was a little bit of an oh no. They've been getting pressure, and now they just, on a 3rd and 3, where the Vikings in short yardage, third downs have been really good this year, and Dallas finds a way to end this drive, and now the Vikings punt, and then Dallas scores again. I thought that sack on 3rd and 3 from midfield, when it looked and felt like, the Vikings are just going to drive again and tie the game, that was a huge game changer too. Speaking of game changers, we'd like to welcome a new partner to Mackey and Judd here to Score North. We already did this on Purple Daily. The official new home bar and tavern of the sports dad, Judd Zulgad. Park Tavern, one of our favorite spots in the Twin Cities.
Oh, we love it. And look, I've got the hat, Park Tavern hat. I've got the hoodie, Park Tavern. And I got plans tonight. To be at the corner of the bar, Park Tavern. Declan might join me. Little MNF, Monday Night Football. Little Wolves against the Heat as well. There are so many different reasons to go to Park Tavern. Phil and I got the tour of the place 3 weeks back or so. And the amount of space, and we've both been there 1,000 times, but the amount of space in that bar is incredible. You can throw your parties there, birthday parties, holiday, company. If you're trying to throw a surprise party for your wife, guess what? It's the easiest place because they are going to help you. They are going to give you help. They're going to make it as easy as possible. And of course, great food, a large selection of beers on tap, and you can watch games there as long as you want because it's fantastic, or at least until they close. So, Park Tavern, located off Louisiana Avenue South in St. Louis Park. Been there for 42 years, family-owned and run business. If you do want to check on the availability of a party, 952-929-6810, or visit parktavern.net, parktavern.net to make reservations. Again, Park Tavern, Louisiana Avenue South, St. Louis Park. Welcome aboard. Sports Dad now has a bar, Surly on tap.
That's right. You thought Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh signing with the Eagles were great mid-season free agent signings? No, Judd signing with Park Tavern is the big free agent signing. Also, a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They've been helping us grow our business here at Score North for the last few years, and they're just a great guiding hand for other businesses inside and outside the state of Minnesota. I'm planning on going down there and talking to the folks at Federated in a week from today, I believe. Today's Monday, so looking forward to hanging out. Federated Insurance, 100+ years of helping navigate and guide businesses. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.